Hello and welcome back to the channel. This video will be all about book 2 in the current 𝕬𝕣𝕣 series that I'm reading. That is the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. So reading this one actually took me probably about a month or so. It did take me a bit longer than the first one, which was surprising because like the pair is already together, they're already adventuring, trying to put together this little corpse puzzle, and they already have most of it found. Really, they're just looking for the head. And so I was really looking forward to this one because I'm hoping that, oh, they'll find everything, we'll get to move on from this, something. And like it was still really good, but I find this is divided into like kind of two arcs. The like in between stuff is what got my attention and had me keep reading. And so the first arc begins with Wei Wuxian and Lang Wanji trying to explore. They're trying to get clues to finish this corpse puzzle to get this body back together, and they still at this point don't even know who it is. And so they're led through this weird city. They're told, go to this route and you'll find this place called Yi City, and it's like haunted and stuff, and like no one lives there, undead, all that stuff. And they get there and it's shrouded in fog, and there is these like paper mache puppet that look like people, and it's very, very weird. And they get attacked, and so a lot of stuff is going on. And to top all of that stressfulness up, they find some sect juniors, some clan juniors, and they've been basically lured to this city as well. And so now not only do they have to take care of themselves and protect each other, they also have to protect these young cultivators that have been lured to this city. And they actually were chasing these people that were placing dead cats like all over. It was like they were following them. So they're on their complete own mission. And so all of that added together, it's just the city is very weird. They eventually find this place to take shelter in from the fog. And at this point, it's just Wei Wuxian with the youngsters, and Lan Wanji is fighting someone out in the fog by himself. And so throughout the time of staying with this kind of grouchy older lady who has given them access to her house, they find out not only that this town is full of walking corpses that can spew poison, they realize, as some of them had been attacked and inhaled this poison. They also find out that the old woman who they're taking residence in her place is actually not even alive. They see a bunch of these kind of paper mache people hanging above them from the ceiling. And so stuff keeps getting weirder and weirder in this place. It was very peculiar, but eventually throughout their time in that residency, Wei Wuxian helps heal the poisoned children, finds a girl who is a ghost. She has become mute, and she is trying to tell them something. And so now they're trying to find her and also fight off all these corpses. And luckily, Wei Wuxian's like one of the only people that can turn paper into people. And so he sends all of these paper mache people to go fight them. And so after finding this girl, it unlocks a new section in this arc, and we get to learn all about the man who is actually on the back of this book, who has his eyes covered by a band and bleeding out. And I was wondering about this from the beginning. I'm just like, who is this? And turns out that is Xiao Xingchen. If you haven't noticed, I don't know Chinese, so I am just trying my best with these names. If you can offer assistance in the pronunciation in the comments, please do. I will take whatever I can get. So this man, Xiao Xingchen, is kind of what the Yi City arc shows off in a way. It tells his story about how he was a cultivator on a mountain and he eventually leaves, only returning to beg for help from their master as his friend Songlan. But Songlan, who had been blinded, and he actually gives Songlan his eyes. And so he becomes blind, and that is why in the illustration on the back, he is kind of blindfolded with blood coming down his tears. And so this tells his story. Before he went blind, he helped a cultivation family who had been attacked and basically wiped out almost entirely. And so he is the one that ends up finding the person truly responsible and trying to bring him to justice. And that person ends up being this guy named Xiao. Why do I feel like that is not actually how you say that? But this man ends up being helped by another very prominent clan. And so he is actually never really facing the true consequences of wiping out an entire family to near extinction. So he ends up finding out he's the reason that he is even punished at all. And so, of course, when Xiao is out, he is free, and he runs into Xiao Xingchen, who is now blind. He decides to take full advantage of the situation to try and get his revenge. All this time that Xiao Xingchen is wandering, trying to find, I believe at this point he's trying to find Songlan, and also Songlan is trying to find him at the same time, but there's no way to communicate between the two. He actually finds this con artist girl who has white eyes naturally, but she can see, but due to her appearing blind to everyone else, that's her con. She's a little con artist. And so she actually ends up tagging along with him. As they're exploring, they find this injured man in a field, and Xiao Xingchen, being the kind-hearted person that he is, takes him with them, and they end up helping him recover in Yi City. And turns out this man that they are helping heal him is Xiao, the man who wants Xiao Xingchen dead. So, of course, Xiao Xingchen doesn't recognize him because he can't see him, and he can't really recognize the voice because the voice is a bit different. And the girl, Qing, had never met Xiao, so she has no idea who this man is. She just has this really off feeling about him. She does not trust him. She does not want him around. And so years and years pass. They're in this kind of abandoned building that is used as a funeral home. It seems fine. You can tell that it's kind of like they're a family, especially with Qing and Xiao Xingchen. They seem like very familiar to each other now. Xiao Xingchen really seems to trust Xiao. Nothing ever really seems off to him, but Qing always has this kind of chip on her shoulder, being like, this guy's weird, I don't trust him, I don't want him around Xiao Xingchen. And it keeps going further and further. He's helping him with repairs for the roof, he's helping him go to the market, he's helping him on night hunts. And so finally she decides one night, I'm going to follow them. Something feels off, I need to figure it out. And so she follows them and finally kind of reveals that she was right, and Xiao is not this kind person who just happened to be gravely injured. No. Finds out that during these night hunts, Xiao was leading Xiao Xingchen to take out these hordes of walking corpses who turned out to be normal civilians who had had their tongues cut out by Xiao. And this entire reasoning is just so that he can, I don't know, try and like one-up him and be like, you killed all these people. I don't remember if I ever truly figured that out, but he just seems to want to torture him. And so seeing that solidify that these are normal people and her friend is being tricked, she tries to warn Xiao Xingchen without straight up saying, hey, he turned you into a murderer. And so about that time when she's trying to get him to leave, is when his old buddy Songlan shows up. And Aqing's actually the one who encounters him in the city, and she hears this man looking for a blind cultivator, and so she's like, hey, what do you want? Like, okay, you seem good, I'll take you to him. But things take a very sad turn when it is revealed all that's happening. She's like, do you know this Xiaoyang guy? Like, he's been staying with my master and all this stuff, and it's very bad. He ends up interacting with Xiaoyang, and eventually the same thing that happened to these civilians on these night hunts happened to him. And what I read as one of the saddest parts in the book is when Songlan, this man who was a great cultivator, lost his eyes. His best friend gave him his eyes. He finally finds his best friend, and before he can truly reconnect with him, he is slaughtered by that same friend who is being manipulated. Probably the most saddest part that I imagined while reading this book. So, with his tongue cut out, Xiao Xingchen ends up piercing him with his sword and believing that he took out a walking corpse, because he even says, wow, I didn't know walking corpses got so close to the market. And so poor Aqing, this traumatized child, is watching all of this, and that is kind of the breaking point. She doesn't want to say that what Xiaoyang made Xiao Xingchen do, but she tells him, like, we need to go. She puts on this whole show of, I need new clothes, I need this, I'm getting bullied by the kids. So she ends up talking Xiaoyang into going to the market, doing the market run. And while he's gone, she is trying to convince Xiao Xingchen to leave. They need to leave. Like, this is not a good man. When she ends up revealing his true identity, Xiao Xingchen refuses to leave. He's like, no, I need to face him, like, blah, blah, blah. Tells her to leave. And then, of course, what do you think is going to happen? Xiao Xingchen ends up getting killed by Xiaoyang, but he also ends up trying to keep his soul intact in this little bag that you can place souls in, because of course you can. He's a cultivator. That moment actually is what's connected in the present moment, because Xiaoyang actually is, in the present time, begging Wei Wuxian to help put basically his soul back together, because Wei Wuxian is kind of the Grandmaster of demonic cultivation, and so he's like, you can help me put this back together. And he's like, I can't, it is too broken. Like, I can't do anything with this soul. And so a huge fight ends up breaking out in Yi City, and at this point Lan Wangji is back, but also Songlan, the man who was killed, is also back, and he is one of those, like, cursed walking corpses, just like Wei Ning, who is also called back. And you have a huge fight going on between those two, and also between Xiaoyang and Lan Wangji. And with the disadvantage that Lan Wangji has in this city full of fog, Aqing actually makes a reappearance at this point and is helping him find where Xiaoyang is by tapping her cane against the ground. And she ends up perishing in that fight. Her soul is kind of ripped apart, but she ends up helping them be able to slay Xiaoyang. Wei Wuxian actually ends up capturing all the pieces of her soul and putting it also in a bag. So nothing really good comes from the Yi City arc. It is one of the more memorable arcs that I've read so far because so much trauma happens. But really we get a bunch of information that is very much needed, and I did very much enjoy it. But the only positive outcome that comes from this entire thing is that the clan juniors end up kind of bonding over this terrifying experience together, which is great. And they actually end up, when we get out of Yi City, they end up staying together. They end up having dinner, and the clan juniors, they bicker, but they also bond a lot over this very traumatizing experience to where they could have very seriously died. And so that was very nice to see. And in that same moment, we get all the release of the tension with them, and also the main couple Lang Wangji once again gets drunk and just terrorizes Wei Wuxian. So Wei Ning actually shows back up. He's trying to like, hey, what's going on? And as they're talking, Lang Wangji, who was left in the room because he had fallen asleep after drinking, he ends up kicking Wei Ning. And if you have read this and you haven't seen a clip, I actually found the section just scrolling through Twitter one day, found the clip from the comic version of that scene, and you have to find that because it is so comical. But he ends up kicking Wei Ning away. He's always upset that Wei Ning is there. It has happened both times that he has gotten drunk, and after Wei Ning is told, okay, leave, he's very upset and very drunk. Lang Wangji ends up taking his ribbon and looping it around Wei Wuxian's hands and dragging him back into the establishment that they have gone for dinner. Wei Wuxian is very confused because he doesn't know what this means. He just thinks that his senior is very drunk and messing around. And it's not until the juniors seeing this freak out, all of the Lan juniors are just like, oh my god, what is happening? This is, oh my god. That he realizes later when he asks them, hey, what does this mean? Like, what does it mean to, like, if someone uses their, like, headband on you because it's very sacred to the Lan family? And they're just like, oh, it's only used for significant others. So with all of that happening, we then find out, I don't know if it's officially called the Golden Carp Tower arc, but that's kind of what I've dubbed this since it all takes place kind of there. We get to learn a lot more about other people, once again. And this is, I'm going to need help with this name. Jin. What is his name? Oh my god. Jin Guangyao. Sure. Jin Guangyao, who was also known as Meng Yao in the past. We get to learn all about him and all of the good and bad things that he has done throughout his life. More leaning on bad by the end of this. And so we learn that he's very skilled and was also one of those kids that was a bastard child who was shunned by his father because the whore couldn't handle having multiple kids from different women. And so we see him go through all of this training through different clans, and he has all of these skills. And we see him eventually form a like brotherhood bond between two other very, very powerful cultivators. One being Lang Wangji's brother, Lan. Oh my god, where is his brother's name in here? Did I pass it? No, it's all the way back. It's all the way back here. Lan Xichen. Why is it all the way in the back? That seems very weird to me. But yeah, maybe I just say Lan Huan because that's his birth name. So. But anyway, so he ends up, through all of this stuff, making a brotherly pact between himself, Lan Huan, and then Ne Mingju. Oh my god. These names. Is there like a guide in the back? There's a guide in the back. I need it. Oh my god, wait, do they not have it in here? Wait, these are just character names from all of the series. 𝕬𝕚𝕚𝕚, 공지, 𝕬𝕚𝕚, 𝕬𝕚𝕚𝕚, no. Execution. No. Oh my god, it doesn't have it. So I'm not crazy. I tried to look that up earlier. Oh my god. So I'm just gonna struggle through these names because it's not in there. All three of them have kind of set this pact. They're now like bonded by almost blood. So one thing about the Ne clan is all of their leaders have ended up dying through a chi deviation. And so that is exactly how this bond is kind of broken between one of them, is because he dies through a chi deviation. Now, Ne Mingju has always not really liked Meng Yao because of their past, and he was betrayed by him and all of these things. And then it was like, no, I didn't betray you, I was a double agent, and look, oh my god, Lan Huan was in on it, and look, I'm helping, like I helped the fight. And so all of this created a lot of tension, and he ended up having a Cultivation, and during that time he was actually trying to slaughter 𝕚𝕟𝕣𝕖. And so a lot happens in there, and through all of that he becomes 𝕚𝕚𝕟𝕣𝕖, who is now the cultivation leader for the Jin clan, who is a very, very prominent clan. We see him during the Golden Carp Tower Symposium as this wonderful man. He's kind, he has a loving wife, he's never cheated, he's never taken on concubines. He's this wonderful man that every man should strive to be like. And then not even 24 hours later, we find out that he is actually the scum of the earth. We find out through little paper way, a little paper effigy, that Wei Wuxian is controlling, and it is actually very dangerous because if it does not come back in a certain amount of time that is given, or if it is damaged, Wei Wuxian's soul is also going to take a huge hit. So he's risking a lot, and he's going in, and he goes into the main chambers, and he sees Lady Jin. We'll just call her because I completely do not remember her name. But anyway, the man's wife, Lady Jin, and she is hysterical. She has found this letter, and just everything is going terrible. Jin Guangyao, I've never struggled this much with names in a video before. So he is trying to comfort and calm her down. And so we find out essentially that they had a son who was murdered, and it seemed like it was revenge for something else, and it was an outside job. But turns out it was Jin Guangyao who had his own son killed. So strike number 1 for this guy. And then we learn more. He goes back into this secret passage, secret room that it's not uncommon for those to be had, but it's what was inside that was uncommon, including the head of the corpse that Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji were searching for this entire time, and some other weird stuff. So to start off, the corpse head was actually, we can now tell who it was, and it was their friend. I'm so sorry, I cannot pronounce his name to save my life. But it was their friend. He was the one. He did die of natural causes of the Qi deviation, but Guangyao ends up dissecting him and scattering all of the corpse parts all over. But he kept the head on this rack in the back of the room with a tarp over it as a spell shield. So we know that he was the one that did that. And he also has a bunch of writings that were from Wei Wuxian after he was killed. He kept a bunch of these dark cultivation books that Wei Wuxian had wrote, and he also kept Wei Wuxian's weapon. And so through all of this, which is also, that's strike 2, through all of this he ends up fleeing because he's running out of time, but he leaves Guangyao and his wife in there, and his wife is just being berated by him. And in the short time that it takes for Paper Wei to make his way back, get his bearings together, and for those two to march back and be like, we need to see the secret passage because you're hiding some very dangerous stuff. And also his wife was strapped to a medieval torture table whenever they left. In the time it took for all that to happen, somehow this man has gotten his wife up. She seems completely fine. He has taken the head away somewhere. No idea where it's at. But a bunch of other people, because it's a symposium, so a bunch of other clans are there. A bunch of people show up and witness a huge fight that results in his wife killing herself, silencing herself, because she knew a bunch of stuff, that he was not this great man and that he murdered their son and knows all of this terrible stuff. So she's now dead. And Wei Wuxian, who this entire time is not in the body of Wei Wuxian. He is in the body of a Mo clan descendant, picks up Wei Wuxian's weapon that had apparently been sealed for like 15 years. And the weapon awakens because, Wei Wuxian's the true master of it. And that is how it is revealed to all of the people in that room that he is truly Wei Wuxian. He is Wei Ying, who is returned from the dead. And it is figured out. And so he is forced to then flee. And of course, Lan Wangji also flees with him. And another very sad scene. It's the emotional sentimental thing. The clan junior of the Jin clan, Jinling, who has been on and off again in this story, torturing Wei Wuxian, with his spirit dog fairy, and just being stay away from my family, because it turns out, I forgot to mention this earlier, but he this entire time has been in the body of a Mo descendant who was a bastard child of the Jin clan and tried to participate in the Jin clan's cultivation practices, but was eventually kicked out because he kept harassing another man and sexually pursuing him, which was not okay because the man was not reciprocating. He was basically just harassing this person. Turns out it was Jin Guangyao, who was also his half brother. So a lot of stuff was happening. So of course Jinling is just stay away from my family, you freak. Which I'll give the kid that. If you're harassing someone's uncle, they're going to be like, what the hell? So he ends up actually helping Jinling and teaching him some stuff. And so Jinling's like, okay, you're neutral now. I won't hate you. You're neutral. But he stops them in their fleeing attempt and is just so upset. And he's like, you're Wei Ying. You've tricked me. How could you do this? And he ends up stabbing him. And so the book ends actually with Lan Wangji taking him away, and we get the very last line is I remember now. And Wangji's like, what do you remember? And Wei Wuxian's like, I carried you on my back once, because it's the same position reversed. And so I know that there's a stair scene in this book, and I need it to occur sooner rather than later, because it's kind of driving me crazy that I don't know what's happening. But yeah, that is basically the entirety of this book. A lot happens, and a lot more needs to happen. So I very much enjoyed this. I, of course, liked the second half better because the first half was just filled with trauma. But yes, I truly do love the interaction between these two. This series might actually take first place for my Danmei enjoyment list, which there's only one other series on there right now. So, but it is so good. I love the interactions. I love drunk Lan Wangji. I need more of it. I'm very much enjoying this, and I do have the rest of the series ready to go. And I'm just very, very excited. I just noticed, oh my god, Shuai is at the top of, he's right here. I never noticed that. Oh my god, I never noticed that. But fun fact, I'm enjoying this series so much. It is going on my shelf. This is actually the second copy of book 2 that I have, because this is the first copy. And if you're wondering, why do you have 2 copies of this? That doesn't make any sense. This one was actually in my backpack. I was reading when I was at an event, and I had sat it down, and apparently there was water on the table. So this poor book got a little bit waterlogged. And so you can't really see it on camera, but it's very warped very badly through here, and the first probably third of the pages are just messed up. So I could not stand that. And so my birthday was not too long ago, so my boyfriend actually for my birthday present, because he was like, what do you want? I'm just like, I don't know. And he goes, okay, after this happened, he goes, what if I get you a fresh copy of book 2 for your shelf? And also you pick out a book sleeve that you can put them in, and it will waterproof them so this doesn't happen again. So now my birthday has now passed, so I have a very nice book sleeve that I can put all my books in. Book 3 is actually in there right now because I just started it. But I now have a fresh book and a book sleeve to keep them protected. So yes, overall, very, very good book. Love it. We'll be continuing book 3. Hopefully it will not take me a whole month. In my defense, I also got sick throughout the month and had other obligations for work. But yeah, I really hope book 3 dives more into this because it's really getting good. This was a huge setup for what I'm hoping is an amazing book 3. So that is it for me for this video. Thank you if you got through this entire just like ramble session about this book. This was not structured at all. But yeah, if you have read book 2 of Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, let me know what your thoughts were. Did you agree that the first arc was like super sad? And yeah, just let me know your thoughts on the book. And yeah, I will see you hopefully sooner rather than later in the next video for book 3. Bye guys!